I wonder how it felt to be him in that moment of heat and embarrassment when you get called out and feel so very publicly exposed. Our church has been studying white fragility and learning about ourselves and the function we sometimes unwittingly play in our racist society. It's been hard work, and it can at times feel awkward when your biases are revealed, when you recognize blind spots that caused you to unintentionally harm another. Robin DiAngelo uses the phrase white fragility to describe the defensive postures that many of us move to when we're confronted with our own racism or acknowledgement of our participation in this system of who's in and who's out. She posits that often when we white folks are called out or asked to acknowledge the harm that we've perpetuated, we react with responses like anger, silence, guilt, arguing, or just leaving. It sounds like being a human being to me. When Cameron called me to account, I had some of these same defensive feelings. They're normal, they're human. And I wonder if when we encounter a challenge like Jesus does here, we can allow ourselves to, yes, feel those feelings, but instead of stopping with them, move through them. Opening ourselves up to the grace-filled lesson that is waiting for us on the other side. Great is your faith, Jesus exclaims to the mother who has called him out on his bias. What happened in his heart in that moment? How did he grapple with the desire to defend himself, to convince the woman that she was wrong about him? Great is your faith, he says, and it sounds to me like he is saying, thank you. Great is your faith, he says, and we leave the passage understanding that the daughter has been transformed. But Jesus is transformed by this encounter as well. This is a pivotal moment of his own calling when he begins to accept that he is not just here for the people of Israel, but for all the people that need healing. He allows this transformation to take place in him in response to a woman, a mother, a person who is below his station, who talked back to him, calling him out, pointing out his arbitrary markers that were not of God. I wonder too, if we could move toward this grateful stance toward those who challenge us, who reflect back to us something in ourselves that feels embarrassing to be seen, who argue with us that there is another, wider, more inclusive way to be. Like Jesus, what transformation might this bring? Not just to those who challenge us, but to our very selves. So I've been talking for a while now, wondering aloud about this story and what it means to me. And now it's your turn. I'm going to ask 3 wondering questions, maybe 2, to which you're invited to answer. So you can either answer inwardly with your own thoughts, or we're going to try some different things here. We might try chat first, that you can answer some responses in chat if you so feel called to answer. So I'm wondering, perhaps you're not a mother yourself, but we can all tap into that kind of intense mama bear energy to protect another who's more vulnerable when they're in danger or being treated unfairly. And I wonder, when is a time when you have been driven to help another in your care, that with relentless devotion you've trailed after people, shouting after them, who are doing their level best to ignore you? Give us a minute to think about that. school districts with our son. Yeah. Trying to get help for a student experiencing sexual harassment. Being asked to co-sign a college loan. Yeah. Relatives and their behavior toward us. Yeah. Mm. Family counselor who had knew all the answers but wouldn't listen. Mhm. I still see some typing, and so those will show up here as I ask the next question. I wonder, when have you found yourself irritated or annoyed or ignoring a request for help because they didn't fit the box of who you held in your mind, who you were supposed to be helping? Hmm. Comment for the other question about the cat and going back and forth between two different vets, staying by his side to care for him. Yeah. The question was, when have you found yourself irritated or annoyed or ignoring a request for help because the requester didn't fit in the box of who you thought you were supposed to help? So after being asked for money, passing hitchhikers on the road, trying to stop an adoption that you thought might harm somebody. Hmm. I think we've all had that experience of kind of shutting somebody's request out for help, that we think we're here for somebody else. We're doing a job for this other person. I see some typing. Student with disability who wouldn't use the systems in place. Someone who didn't match my intuition about what was going on. Hmm. Coworkers who needed help, who hadn't been practicing safe care. Being approached by a lay evangelist instead of, and not having a human conversation. Not an easy, yeah. Thanks for these answers. Hmm. Yeah. And finally, I wonder, what could we use to help us when we, like Jesus, are shown our limitations or bias and we want to move past our defenses to mutual transformation? I'll repeat that again. What could we use to help us ourselves when, like Jesus, we're shown our limitations or our bias, and we want to move past those, past our defenses to mutual transformation. Take a deep breath, understanding where your biases come from. Point of human connection. Mhm. Try to be kind. Yeah. So thank you for these sharings. There may be more that will come in as people finish typing. And will you just close with a prayer with me? God of mystery and of abundance, we honor the stories, celebrate the stories shared in your sacred text and shared between us here. We are grateful for this time together to explore your holy word and listen for what it has to say to us today. Amen.